The best, most beautiful and most perfect way that we have of expressing a sweet concord of mind to each other is by music. The excellence of a saint consists in the beauty of holiness. Prayer is as natural an expression of faith as breathing is of life. Nothing sets a person so much out of the devil's reach as humility. He that has doctrinal knowledge and speculation only, without affection, never is engaged in the business of religion. Nothing is more contrary to a Christian frame of spirit than a disposition to be disputing and to insist on one's right and to stand stiffly in one's own defense. Many pray with their lips for that for which their hearts have no desire. Every Christian family ought to be, as it were, a little church. Time is so short, and the work which Christians have to do for eternity is so great that they have none to spare for laying out and adorning their bodies. Nothing is more contrary to a heavenly hope than an earthly heart. It becomes us to spend this life only as a journey toward heaven, as it becomes us to make the seeking of our highest end and proper good the whole work of our lives, to which we should subordinate all other concerns of life. Man's nature is full of contradictions. He has a body and a soul, a finite and an infinite part. Holiness is a most beautiful and lovely thing. We drink in strange notions of holiness from our childhood, as if it were a melancholy, morose, sour, and unpleasant thing. Many are in hell who were never thought to be there, and many who in the world's account were righteous. The world and everything in it will be consumed by the glorious brightness of the Lord. When sinners fall under conviction of sin, it is not with a design to reform, but to flee from the wrath to come. Many are the pleas of unbelief, but they will not stand the test of the day of judgment. Christ is a safe ground to trust in. He is a firm rock on which to build. Resolved never to do anything which I should be afraid to do if it were the last hour of my life. Surely there is something in the unruffled calm of nature that overawes our little anxieties and doubts. The sight of the deep blue sky and the clustering stars above seems to impart a quiet to the mind. Resolved that I will live so as I shall wish I had done when I come to die. From love arises hatred of those things which are contrary to what we love, or which oppose and thwart us in those things that we delight in. Seek not to grow in knowledge chiefly for the sake of applause, and to enable you to dispute with others, but seek it for the benefit of your souls. One of these grand defects, as I humbly conceive, is this, that children are habituated to learning without understanding. True weanedness from the world don't consist in being beat off from the world by the affliction of it, but of being drawn off by the sight of something better. Holiness appeared to me to be of a sweet, pleasant, charming, serene, calm nature, which brought an inexpressible purity, brightness, peacefulness, and ravishment to the soul. Grace is the seed of glory, the dawning of glory in the heart, and therefore grace is the earnest of the future inheritance. If there be such a distinguishing excellency in divine things, 'tis rational to suppose that there may be such a thing as seeing it. Resolved to study the Scriptures so steadily, constantly, and frequently, as that I may find and plainly perceive myself to grow in the knowledge of the same. 'Tis a more glorious effect of power to make that holy that was so depraved and under the domination of sin than to confer holiness on that which before had nothing of the contrary. None that will come to Christ, let his condition be what it will, need to fear, but that Christ will provide a place suitable for him in heaven. Our Redeemer, who was infinitely the most wonderful example of love that was ever witnessed. My soul longs to feel itself more of a pilgrim and stranger here below, that nothing may divert me from pressing through the lonely desert till I arrive at my Father's house. Greatest concern is not for your health or temporal welfare, but for the good of your soul, though. The harder the heart is, the more dead is it in sin, and the more unable to exert good affections and acts. This glorious person came down from heaven to be the light of the world, that by him the beauty of the deity might shine forth in the brightest and fullest manner to the children of men. If a sight of Christ's outward glory might give a rational assurance of his divinity, why might not an apprehension of he is spiritual glory do so too? There is no such thing as excess in our taking of this spiritual food. There is no such virtue as temperance in spiritual feasting. The good Lord grant that false religion may cease and true religion prevail through the earth. True liberty consists only in the power of doing what we ought to will, and in not being constrained to do what we ought not to will. I look forward to maintaining and building on the significant athlete involvement that played such an important role in bringing the Games to London. The way to heaven is ascending. We must be content to travel uphill, though it be hard and tiresome and contrary to the natural bias of our flesh. 4 of our stations ran out of at least 1 grade of gas on Wednesday before we could get them supplied again. You can only respond so quickly. Other countries around the world are looking at this project very closely. They are looking at the vendors involved in the project. Wicked people will on the day of judgment see all there is to see of Jesus Christ, except his beauty and loveliness. Family education and order are some of the chief means of grace. If these are duly maintained, all the means of grace are likely to prosper and become effectual. The bodies of those that made such a noise and tumult when alive, when dead, lie as quietly among the graves of their neighbors as any others. I make it my rule to lay hold of light and embrace it wherever I see it, though held forth by a chill-door, an enemy. Haste and escape for your lives. Look not behind you. Escape to the mountain, lest you be consumed.